時間到。
Members, this is the appointed time and we have a quorum, so this is an additional meeting of the FC with 4 sessions. The first session is from 9 to 11, and let's continue with yesterday's item. And may I remind everyone here that yesterday members went somewhat off the track when discussing the item. So in accordance with the Finance Committee procedure, the members' question put should be directly relevant to the paper or the item in question. As for questions on more general policy issue, those questions should be raised at the relevant panel or council meetings. Now, Chairman, when deciding whether the question is appropriate, may refer to the Rule 25 of the Finance Committee procedure. So if the question is not answered, members may wish to refer to Rule 44 of the FCP for supplementary reply in writing. Mr. Ray Chan. Thank you. I want to follow up on an answer given by the Director, and in relation to sexual minorities by census, the statistics may not be accurate. It may be more sensitive. I understand that, but if this is the case, this would mean that we will never be able to make an assessment. Even if the survey is not accurate, you can still get a trend through surveys over the years. And for the third gender, I don't think it's technically difficult to include another box, because this is out of respect for the respondents. Well, the respondent may not recognize him or herself as male or female, and without another option for them, how are they going to answer the question? Should they refuse to answer, or how can the problem be addressed? Director, please, or Commissioner, please try your best to answer the question. Thank you for your question. You say that even if the answer is not accurate, you should try your best to collect the data, because you can look at the trend. And for gender, you should also include the third gender apart from male and female. Well, on these two questions, the CNSD's position is very clear. We are a professional department. We should collect accurate data. If the data is not accurate, we believe that it will do more harm than good. Even if you were just to look at the trend, of course we're happy to do it if it could really reflect the trend. But the error may not be the same every time. For example, this time we may have underestimated the situation by 10%. Next time it may be an overestimate of 5% or whatever. And the trend may therefore be wrong, and it will mislead the public, and it will not be conducive to the community's discussion. Therefore, we feel responsible in providing accurate data. Secondly, Mr. Ray Chan's suggestion is to adjust the computer system, because we are going to have an online system, and the advantage of having an online survey is to avoid embarrassment, so that respondents can tell the truth. This is one of the reasons. Next, Dr. Priscilla Leung. Chairman, I think we should not make the government's job difficult. This issue is controversial. Now, of course, if it's just something about myself, it will be easy to be resolved. And yet there are many controversies in the community, and there are still more than 30 items yet to be passed here. So I respect Chairman's ruling. I believe that these controversies should be discussed at panel meetings. I hope that this item can be passed as soon as possible. Next, Mr. Sin Chung Kai. Chairman, I think if a member wishes to ask a question about this, we should really look into it. In particular, we should draw reference from international practices, and the government should give us an explanation. Instead of just telling us the difficulties, we should align ourselves with international practices. This is not unique in Hong Kong. We should really look into the practices in other jurisdictions and then report to us at the relevant panel the global practice and your recommendation. All right, so this is a comment for you to seriously look into this matter. I don't think the matter can be resolved today. Next, Dr. Kenneth Chan. Good morning. To follow up on the point I raised yesterday, that is how, through statistics, through the professional team's work of the CNSD, this is a funding proposal to upgrade the computer system and to purchase tablets, so on and so forth, to assess and evaluate in greater detail how much land we need for small houses. Because in answering members' question, the administration answered that 932 hectares of land has been reserved for village-type development. And at that time, members asked about the actual need, how much land was needed for small houses. Now, if we're talking about identities in relation to, say, sexual orientation, now this may not be. It may be hard to define without an objective criterion, but not so much for small houses. So yesterday I was talking about country parks, and then there is no inhabitant, and then all of a sudden the planning department said that land has been reserved for village-type development. So my question is about how the government gauge the demand for small house developments in the past, and can what Para 27 said be done, that is to come up with a more detailed and accurate analysis or projection. Director, this is population by census, as said yesterday. The data will be more accurate. It can be broken down geographically so that we know better the population in relation to small houses, the demographics, the number of children in the household, etc. If this data is collected, it will be helpful in implementing the policy. So the population by census provides a good foundation for the planning department to in their plans. Well, perhaps Director, afterwards, please supplement your answer and tell us how your department collaborate with the planning department in projecting the demand for small houses. Yes, Director, please supplement your answer in writing. Next, Dr. Fernando Zhang. About the 6,000 computer tablets, the department has yet to ask about the demand for other departments, and you're going to procure 6,000 tablets in one go. I think you should just give them away to children in poverty. Those 16 computers. We have electronic textbooks, etc. I think if you need to go, if you make a round to ask departments about the computers, it may take too long. So why don't you decide now to give away the 6,000 computers in one go? And In the past, the censuses did not assess correctly certain groups of the population, including the persons with disabilities. I think the census should be done more frequently. Also, for ethnic minorities, the data collection is done sparsely. Since you're doing a population by census, there should be a thematic approach towards collecting data from ethnic minorities so that you have clearer data. Director, will you consider these suggestions? Yes, these are very good. In fact, this is one of the major functions of the population by census. Apart from breaking down the data into by districts, we will do more in relation to ethnic minorities. It's not an easy task because they are scattered across Hong Kong, and we are conducting a survey in relation to ethnic minorities, and we mostly start with schools because some schools may have more ethnic minority students, and we would do more in this regard. It may not be comprehensive enough, and yet we can get some information about the characteristics of EM students. Now, what about giving away computers to poor families? Yes, please note this comment. All right, thank you. We will follow the administration's procedure and consider this suggestion. So one of the suggestions is to give away the computers. Mr. Ray Chan, next. I agree that we are not able to deal with the issue of collecting data from sexual minorities today. I still wish to put this on record for follow-up. I think the sexual minorities population is larger than ethnic minorities population. So, Director, you should not say that simply because it's difficult you should not do it. Maybe population by census is not the best avenue. Then please consider which one is. And another question is about the online questionnaire about an option for the sexual minorities. I want Director to supplement the answer, as we will include the option of other. Now, first of all, we have male and female and other. Our respect is very important, and our consideration is that we should respect all groups of the population. Now, so you give them an option, but the option of other doesn't really reflect their identities. That is, if they don't wish to choose female or male, they could choose other. Now, I think there are several points. First of all, it's difficult to get accurate data, but we need to respect them, and we will put down other and then please specify.
So, if there are no other comments, Mr. Chen Chi-chun has provided the motion under 37A. The Secretariat and I have done some work. I now rule that the motion in connection with Rule 37A is not directly connected, so I'm unable to let this item be handled by the committee. 1 minute. I was talking about the demand. The government should have census figures on the sexual minorities, and there should be categories of same-sex partnerships.
Because the funding sought is for procurement of computer equipment for the 2016 population by census, and we're talking about the CNSD's recommendation of what to be included in the population by census in 2016. I don't see why this should be ruled irrelevant. I want to put this on record. I'm very unhappy with this ruling. So if there are no other questions, this item will be put to a vote. Will those in favor of FCR 2014-15-11 and the proposal therein, please raise your hands. Yes, please put down your hands. Those against? No. Those abstained? None. I think the majority of members voted are in favor of this paper, so the item is approved. Next item, FCR 2014-15-12. Members are invited to approve a new commitment of $25 million for the installation of electric locks security system in Thailand Center for Women. On the 7th of February 2014, the Security Bureau consulted the panel on security of the Legislative Council, and in attendance from the administration, we have Ms. Bella Mui, PAS, and also Mr. Lam Kwok Lau, Assistant Commissioner of Correctional Services, and Mr. Sunny Pang, Senior Engineer, EMSD. Since the chairman of the panel is not here, I should make a report, and who would like to ask questions? If there are no questions, Mr. Ray Chan. Now about this electric locks security system, how many institutions or reception centers under the Correctional Services Department are using them? And if none, if there isn't any, can you tell us what are your plans in the future? Mr. Lam? Now for our correctional facilities, we have installed the electric locks security system in some of the facilities, but now for the whole Thailand Center for Women, the system will be installed. As for partial installation, we have 14 and 15 such institutions with electric locks security system in some of the facilities. Now, for high security institutions, this will be our priority in installing such systems in the future. And we also consider whether there are any new facilities under construction. If so, we will also install electric locks there. So, for Thailand Center for Women, according to the administration, this will be the first system, first center for the electric lock security system to be installed. The first is actually Lo Wu Center for Women. So, with member support, this will be the second center. Now, we asked about the ELSS, the electric lock security system, in the past. That is, in the event of a major blackout or fire, what would happen? How would it be addressed? Maybe I'll defer to my colleague from ENSD to take the question. Now, for the ELSS, it's jointly developed by the EMSD and the CSD. It's a highly reliable system. In terms of server and the equipment, we have backup equipment, and we also have a continuous electricity supply to ensure that there won't be any error of the system due to a blackout. However, if there are, in the case of emergencies, it will go back to the mechanical locking approach where a key will be needed. So if there are no other questions from members, I will put this. All right, Dr. Fernando Zhang. Now my question is, for the center chosen for the installation of ELSS, why are both centers for women? And are these two centers those of high security?
No, Chairman, what we expressed earlier is that when we decided to install this system, we first consider the operational need and whether there were works that were about to be launched or in the process. And the Lowell Institute was newly completed in 2012, and the CSD and EMSD discussed this, and we thought that this new system can be installed. Now, as for the Thailand Institute, it was in the process of being renovated, remodeled, so we think that it can be installed there. As for other venues, we will follow our we will do this in gradually on a step-by-step basis. So it has nothing to do with the female inmates, the sex or gender. Now, as I mentioned, for Lowell and Thailand Institute, Dr. Cheung is correct. It's not because of the female gender or because of level of security. It's because of the work's needs and process. Now, Para 8 says that when the locks are replaced, the closed circuit TV and other security measures will be reviewed. Now, so even if old machinery is used, will there be closed circuit TV, and the system will be updated, and how long will the system be usable for? Now, now this is it's not required for the central control to open the locks. So with the installation of the new system, the correctional officer no longer needs to produce the key, and it's all under the control of the central control console. So it is checked that everything is all right, and then the locks will be open. So if there are no further questions, I put this item to a vote. Those in favor of FCR 2014-15, document 12, the proposed therein, please raise your hands. Thank you. Those against? Abstentions? None. I think of the members voting, the majority is in support. The proposal is passed. Next item, FCR 2014-15, 10. In this document, members are invited to approve a new commitment of $130 million under Head 152, Member Secretariat, Commerce and Economic Development Bureau, Commerce and Industry Tourism Branch for implementation measure for manpower development of the retail industry. Now, on the 15th of April, the views of the relevant panel was sought, and we have with us today Mr. Wong Ho Yin, Mr. Yu Kin Keung, Mr. Wong Fok Loy of the Commerce and Economic Development Bureau, and we have from the Productivity Council, Mr. Poon Wing Sang, and Employment Vocational Training Institute, Ms. Chen Xiao-Ching, and others. Mr. Vincent Fang, the chairman of the panel, will now speak. The panel in principle supports the proposed measures to relieve the stringent, tight demand manpower situation. Members urge the government to establish policies and call upon employers to improve the career paths of the workers and improve their salaries and working conditions to attract more young people. Now, given that the retail industry covers many industries, members feel that the students should be provided with training on products and specific industries and on communications and interpersonal skills. And some members suggested the government should broaden the use or the scope of the RTAF fund, and so that technologies for different types of retail industries can benefit, in particular, so that more SMEs can benefit. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, of course, I agree that we try to do more on the manpower development of the retail industry, but the unemployment rate is now very low. It's often said that we are practically at full employment. Now, given such a large shortage of manpower, now, have you identified where in the working population can you attract the people to join the industry and encourage them to join? Now, if you just offer general manpower training based on the census figures, we are already at or near full employment. I don't know where you can attract new manpower to join the industry. So your plan should be targeted. You should target certain age cohorts or some other groups. For instance, it would be the younger groups with higher unemployment rates. So you then have a strategy that is targeted and not just general. Now, given our past experience in retraining, the person trained may not enter the industry, so it should be more targeted. Permanent Secretary? Now, of course, we conducted an in-depth study. Now, if we are short of manpower, that's also true of Hong Kong as a whole. How do we encourage more people to join the retail industry? So this is our proposal. We find that some young people are very suitable for joining the retail industry. But if we look at the analysis in the 15 to 24 age cohort, including 50 to 29 and 20 to 24 cohorts, the unemployment rate is higher for them than for the population generally. So, and also the young people are also a higher proportion of the employees in the industry. So through our training schemes that we are currently proposing, we should be able to attract some young people who do not wish to pursue further education but are willing to earn as they learn. Now, Of course, another purpose is that we try to promote the image of the retail industry among young people and their parents, so that people see the retail industry as offering a bright career paths. So this is the underlying concept. So would this be targeted to the younger age groups? Yes. Next, Poon Siu Ping. In principle, I support the proposal for the manpower development of the retail industry. Now, the government is thinking of making adjustment to the individual visit policy. In the future, there may be a drop in the number of individual visitors. So has the government considered whether as a result of the adjustment in that policy, the manpower needs might be affected? And also, the general public may not have a very high regard for the industry, so you want to improve the image. Of course, you need to improve the remuneration and career path. Now, many workers suffer physical harm due to having to stand for a long time in the industry. Now, so you must give a true picture to the young people when you engage in your publicity activities. So in your publicity exercise, you will outsource this to the professional organizations, and what else will you do? Now, well, we hope to highlight the availability of career paths for the retail industry. So we want to let the young people know that even if they join the retail industry, they can still pursue further education later. So we asked the Vocational Training Institute to organize schemes where the young people can learn as they work, and so that they would have the opportunity to move on to further education after working for a period of time. Of course, we also tell the employers that the working environment has to be improved, and this is what the employers should try to do. And we bear in mind that the workers have to stand for a long time each day, and they have to work on public holidays. So the employers do understand that they encounter problems in hiring new staff, so they are willing to be more flexible regarding the working environment. Now, on individual visits, now, of course, retail industry doesn't just depend on the tourism industry. Now, retail sales generally are mainly local to the extent of 65%. Tourism receipts for retail industry are about 1/3. Now, looking to the next few years, the growth in manpower demand for the retail industry still outstrips the growth for the rest of the working population. Now, although retail sales hasn't grown as fast in recent months as before, yet the demand is still rising as far as manpower is concerned. We support this funding proposal. We support all the funding proposals today. because today time is very valuable. So we do not ask that the officials reply, but we want to express that the departments can try to further broaden the contents of the proposals and also to try to improve the commission system, to have regular rest days or hours. Now, so in the rest of today's agenda, we will not ask questions unless it's essentially necessary, absolutely necessary in order to save time. Dr. Fernando Cheung. Now, the manpower demand is strong, but at the same time, I've heard people say, citing CNS figures, that the retail sales fell by 10% in April. So the industry is facing a grim outlook, as people say. But you seem to be offering a message in the opposite direction. Now the society is asking for a review of the individual business policy, and the industry is crying out now. And at the same time, you want to improve the manpower supply. Now, actually, you have only a 3% vacancy rate. Now, the main point is that the earnings for the workers are low and the career path is unclear. Now, if the remuneration is increased, then there will be no shortage in supply. So I don't understand why you spend all the money on training. You should raise the minimum wage, and then the supply of manpower will be relieved. So you complain that the retail industry is shrinking. At the same time, you said there's insufficient manpower. So how do you resolve the contradiction? As I replied earlier, also in the past few months show that certain retail sectors witness a decline in sales compared to last year by up to 9-point-something%. It's not the certain sectors, but the overall there's a decline of 10%. In some sectors is 40%. Now, the overall vacancy rate up to March this year was still increasing. From the time we wrote the report, where there were 8,000 odd vacancies, now up to March this year, it has increased to 9,600 odd vacancies. So last year, the retail sales were very strong. So we can't say that just because there's a decline this year, then the outlook is poor. Now, we've talked to many shops. They are short-handed by, say, 8 out of 9, or by, they have 1 or 2 vacancies for every 10 workers. And also the retail workers don't earn a high salary compared to the population as a whole, but compared to other low-earning industries, they do earn the salaries are relatively high. So we hope to raise the quality of the manpower and the service.
Mr.
Chen Shih-chun, the
government is looking at the supply of the market and now is proposing these measures. However, the market changes very quickly. For example, when IT industry was thriving, then there were a lot of trainings for IT people. And then there was this bubble burst, and those trainees didn't know what to do. And suddenly there's news that there will be a new station, new TV station, and then students would study the communication and relevant studies. But now the license is not issued, so the students do not know what to do. Just now, Professor Fernando Cheung said that he's seeing a tendency of decline in the retail industry. So will assessment be made accordingly? Now you're asking for $130 million. I don't think this trend is just for the moment. It will keep on going down. So would you scale down your project and monitor the situation of the market? Well, this is just a pilot scheme. We are seeking funding from the FC for a 3-year project. We understand that we have to look at the environment and the macroeconomy. So now we are putting forward these proposals. And we've come up with this new pilot earn and learn scheme. As to how popular it will be is up to the students and the market. We hope that we can get support from the FC, and this scheme will last for 3 years. So after launching the scheme, we will monitor the response in the market, and then we will conduct a review. As to in the long run whether we will continue to do this, we will have to look at the results of the pilot scheme first. Now, if only 50% of the people you expect to join the scheme, so what will you do with funding? As for the courses, we have invited the Vocational Training Council to organize the courses. When students will take these courses, and then after a semester, we will give them the subsidies. So for the number of students sign up, if it's not as high as we expect, then we will not give as much money as we anticipated. Yes, I support this proposal because this will create more career paths to young people. But I would like to ask the government this. How many young people will benefit? Yeah, you will have associate degrees. You will also have high diploma and diploma courses. So each year, how many graduates would you be expecting from these courses? This time around, we are focusing on high diploma and foundation diploma. These are both earn and learn schemes. So for the coming 3 years, we hope that the BTC will be providing 1,500 places for these courses. And with the support of the FC, we will start enrollment next week because the DSE results will be announced next Monday. So we will first recruit students for the foundation diploma courses. And in the coming year, we will be introducing another high diploma course under the pilot earn and learn scheme. We will be subsidizing 1,500 places in the coming 3 years. So how many graduates will be trained or will be graduating from these courses? Of course, we hope that more students would sign up. Through the VTC, we have contacted certain employers. Now the employers are very enthusiastic. Now because employers would have to provide jobs so that the students can earn and learn. We are now doing the preparatory work, and we see a very good response from employers. But of course, we have to see the response of students as well. Now, for young people, well, can you please speak into the microphone? We cannot really hear you. Now, through these schemes, how many students can get a high diploma? And also, can you talk to universities so that more incentive can be given to students? Well, Chairman, but this time around, we do not include bachelor degree programs. Because under the qualification framework, there are tertiary institutions that are providing bachelor degree programs, and also some other universities are providing sub-degree programs. So we are providing students with other courses. They can get foundation diploma or high diploma or higher diploma, and if they want to further their studies in the future, there are other courses that they can take afterwards, and eventually they can get a degree. So I hope that they can give this more consideration so that the students would have a concrete direction to aim at. When the students are taking the courses, and if they discover that actually they are qualified for a degree program, maybe you should also provide them with the relevant opportunities. Yes, when we recruit students through the VTC, of course we will give the students relevant information. That is, if they want to further their studies, what paths they can take. Mr. Vincent Fan, I totally support the government's paper. For the young people, now they will have an opportunity to earn and learn. With regard to the retail industry, it is now quite a difficult industry. In the past, when we recruited people, we would not say that, well, there will be a career path for you. But with this scheme, now when the employers recruit young people, they would tell their employees what their career paths will be like. That is, for example, after how many years, which position they can attain. Well, just now many members have expressed their concern about the future of the retail industry. Actually, I am the member who's most worried. Now, you said that in April, the sales figure dropped. Does it mean that less people will be employed? I don't think that's necessarily true. Now, because, well, for the retail industry, things have changed. In the past, the focus was on luxury goods, and now the focus is on daily commodities. So there is still a shortage in manpower. And for training employees, I think we should be more forward-looking. We shouldn't be just looking at today. Now, the future may not look too bright, but do we really have to cut our manpower? I don't think we should be so superficial. I can cite an example. During the SARS outbreak, Hong Kong's economy was poor. And when the government trained doctors and nurses, it actually cut the number of training places. And it was exactly because the government was not far-sighted enough. Now we have a shortage of doctors and nurses. It's because the government cut training places at that time. So when it comes to training manpower, it doesn't mean that you train a person today, you can use that person tomorrow. So you really have to look forward. I totally support the government's proposed plan, and I hope that is passed today, and next week, as the PS said just now, recruitment of students will start. Next, Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Thank you, Chairman. I support this paper. There are many other industries in Hong Kong that are also suffering from manpower shortage. The government has the responsibility to provide training and to come up with measures to help these industries develop. The government may not be playing a direct role, but supporting these industries is very important. I also agree with Mr. Vincent Fan. We should be more forward-looking. We shouldn't be just looking at today and then make a decision according to today's situation. Increasing wages is not the only solution. So when there is excessive manpower in a certain sector, do we cut the employees' salaries? I think the most important issue now is manpower shortage, not just in the retail industry. The construction industry is the same. Even if you increase their wage to $10,000 a day, you will not have enough bar benders. So trainings should be enhanced in many industries. Today we are not discussing about manpower shortage. However, I think enough resources should be provided so as to help these industries develop. By doing so, we can create a better economic environment for Hong Kong, and Hong Kong people can thrive. Thank you, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Well, when doctors are lucky, they would see a patient who is recovering. So that's the same with the retail industry. And now you say that the retail industry is declining, so that's why you should provide more help to the industry. So, Vincent Fan, why didn't you do this earlier? Well, you should ask the government. I have lived abroad myself. They have a 3-year apprenticeship course. They do this in Germany. They do this in other countries. Now they subsidize you so that you can work in a shop and you can learn how to operate that business. So you can learn how to be a baker. You don't just learn how to mix flour or break an egg. You have to learn the trade itself. So for your proposal, well, actually, when employers employs a person, of course, he would like to train up that person. Now, you can ask Vincent Fan. You are training these trainees, and then you ask some employers to employ them. So the employers will not have any feelings towards them. But if it's an apprenticeship scheme, then the mentor or the employer would develop a relationship with the apprentice. And such a relationship can be built, but you are not doing this. You are just saying that you graduate and you have nothing to do, so I'll give you this scheme so you can earn and learn. Well, what can you learn in the retail industry? Because retail industry is declining. How about gold shops? Because the customers are dwindling. So if you work in a gold shop, there's no future. If you work in a gold shop, do you know anything about jewelry? Do you know diamonds? You know how diamonds are cut? You don't know anything. So if you work in a gold shop, what should you learn? You should know where the emergency exit is. This is outrageous. I think you should just withdraw this scheme and you should just subsidize the students so that they can buy a new dress and a pair of new shoes to go to job interviews. This is a waste of time. You give them an octopus card so that they can take a bus to a job interview. So this is your opinion for the government. That's why I say a lucky doctor will see a patient when he's almost recovered. Maybe you should open a funeral parlor. That's even more useful. Next, Mr. Li Chao-yan. Thank you, Chairman. For this paper, the government is asking for some fundings, but I don't think the funding will be well spent. Now, where do we need manpower? A lot of women cannot come out to work, so you should provide them with nursery service or after-school care. This is just whitewashing. I've seen 2 items in the paper, and I think it's just a waste of time. What are you talking about? Enhancing the image of the retail industry? Placing advertisements for them? This is really totally unrelated. And you will be subsidizing the industry so that they can buy IT facilities. The retail industry has been prosperous. Yes, lately there has been a decline, in particular the gold shops. But remember, there was a peak for them. And for the retail industry, there are gold shops, watch shops, and drugstores. The sales figure has dropped by 40% from its peak. But this is normal. When there were not so many gold shops, their scales were not that big. And now certain trades are seeing a decline, but it doesn't mean that the whole retail industry will be like this. Do you think Chow Tai Fook will be in financial difficulties and you are now going to subsidize them? This is really incredible. I do not object to the VTC initiative, but why don't you just give money to the VTC so that it can carry out its plans? And then the remaining 2 items should be taken out. Then I will support this paper. I think training should be provided, but that should not be packed with subsidizing employers. It's not that these employers are facing a difficult time. So if you want to give them money, why don't you give money to the manufacturers so that industries can come back to Hong Kong? So I would only support the VTC initiative. Mr. Tony Chair. Thank you, Chairman. Good education is the best investment, so I would support the pilot scheme so that more resources can be provided for training young people. But I would like to ask about the pilot earn and learn scheme. Under paragraph 9b, you say that upon graduation, the employers would offer a salary no less than $11,000 per month to the student. So is there a condition imposed on the student? Must the student work at that company? Can he go change to another company? Is there a time restraint? And for this pilot scheme, it will last for 3 years. So what will happen after 3 years? I hope you can follow up on this because retaining talent is very important. So after studying, maybe he does not want to work in that field. So that would be a waste of resources. So would you follow up? After 3 years study, will he continue to work for 1 more year in that trade so that he can really benefit from the training? Well, Chairman, of course, we will review the whole pilot scheme. That is, well, for those students who graduate from the foundation diploma courses, how many of them are willing to stay with the same employer? And when we conduct the review, we will also be looking at the number of leavers. So when students get this foundation diploma, it's part of their academic qualification. So maybe he worked for half a month for this employer and he doesn't like him. He wants to work for another employer. Now, because he has that academic qualification, he can get more or less the same wage. Now, we have reached a consensus with many retail industry employers. That is, when they allow these students to work for them and while they are studying, the employers agree that they will offer a salary of no less than $11,000 per month.
Of course, we see the tight manpower situation now. The employers' aspiration is to retain these employees so that they can, or students can work for them in the future. And we need to find out whether these students will be willing to work for the employer on their graduation, or whether they will just work for 3 and 5 months and then move on to another employer. So in short, as employers, if they wish to keep the trainee, they should give them no less than $11,000 a month, so that they will not move on to another employer with a better offer. Well, this is, of course, between an agreement between the employer and the employee, and there may be stipulations in the contract, say a 3-month notice period, and their relationship will be the same as every employer and employee. Mr. Gary Fan, I have some comments and some questions on the paper. The administration always say that we're close to full employment with such a low unemployment rate. And this paper talks about a very tight manpower situation in the retail industry. But it didn't touch upon the IVS scheme and the policy. And the Beijing government has already agreed to make adjustments. Is it still appropriate to deploy so much resources to promote the to increase the manpower for the retail industry? I have some reservations, and there are also suggestions that the basic salaries for the retail industry is very low, and that they need to work for long hours. They need to stand all the time. There are all sorts of problems, and these problems can only be addressed by improving work conditions and adjusting the work patterns in order to reduce the turnover. However, this proposal of such a huge amount involved doesn't say anything about how these problems can be addressed. Now, in the paper, it says that there will be good management practices, including the retail industry tripartite committees, etc. That means there is no concrete measure. I'm asking how the administration can improve the work conditions of the practitioners in the retail industry. Now, there are various trades in the retail industry. It is not easy to take an across-the-board approach to improve the work conditions. Therefore, we believe that it's up to the employers to negotiate with employees and to decide how to improve work conditions to improve the attractiveness of their jobs. So that means they have no options but to leave their jobs. Now the focus is, having discussed with the retail industry, we should focus on a number of areas. First of all, we should raise the image of retail industry. We have this perception that the sales have to remain standing all the time, and employers also understand there is a need to change the pattern. And we also need to increase or enhance the quality of manpower so that employers will be more willing to make better offers. So although we are applying for additional funding to implement these initiatives, there is work being done using existing resources. Although we say that we will take this five-pronged approach, the funding is not just for one area. Mr. Leung Yiu-chung. Now, this, as Mr. Gary Fan said, this paper is all about the tight manpower situation and the corresponding measures. Now, P.S., can you tell us, since you say you always meet with the retail industry, what is the reason of having such a tight manpower situation in retail industry? Apart from the reasons mentioned just now, the working hours are simply too long. For young people, if they have to work for 10 or 12 hours a day, to them it's quite impossible. Because apart from work, they also need time to rest, to further their studies. And we know if you work in the retail industry, you need to work for at least 10 hours. And you talked about improving the pay, improving the salaries and benefits, but you say nothing about improving work conditions. Have you conducted any survey to find out why there is a shortage of manpower, and what is the reason of so many young people leaving the retail industry? P.S. Long working hours is one of the reasons we looked into in in this report. We also, in preparing the report, we held some focus group meetings with young people. We understand their harsh working conditions. Now, for average working hours in the retail industry, comparing to other industries, indeed, it's quite long. It's 48 to the median weekly working hours of 45 hours. However, it's not the longest. We've seen changes in the retail industry because of manpower shortage. They are more inclined to employing part-time workers, and they also adopt flexi working hours. I believe in the coming few years, in the face of the general labor situation, they will have to make these adjustments. And as we met with them, we also mentioned that in improving the image of the retail industry, they need to come up with corresponding measures. Now, a study is being conducted on the regulating the standard working hours. I think something should be done. If you don't take this opportunity to improve the working hours, to young people, the retail industry won't be attractive. And in that case, if they if they choose not to stay on, it will be a waste of money. This is the main reason. To young people, the most important thing for them after work is to either further the studies or to have entertainment. So long working hours in the retail industry is an obstacle to their either furthering their study or to have entertainment. So although there is a flexible employment arrangement, it's not helpful. Say for part-time workers, they don't get extra pay. So if you can't shorten their working hours such that they're on a par with clerical workers, it won't be very effective. So in the interim, will you really do something to improve the working hours? I believe PS has heard you. Next, Ms. Han Chia. Thank you, Chairman. I was in the retail industry. I was once a salesperson. I was also a waitress at a restaurant. I think I really support this item. And nowadays, many young people join the retail industry without adequate support or training. I think there is a system. Say, a salesperson in a retail industry, in a shop, there is window decoration, there is a matching of clothes, how the mirror should be placed, what should be the extent of lighting, or what should be the attitude towards customers, and their customer service attitude. Everything boils down to specific knowledge. And apart from giving opportunities for young people to undergo a basic training course, I think we should also enhance the qualifications framework. And in order to do that, we should consider allowing managerial positions, so on and so forth, so that these people can see their career prospect. So if you have a promotional pathway in terms of training, these young people can learn the theories as well as acquiring practical experience. I support this item. I hope the administration will also will also closely monitor the effectiveness of the initiatives and make timely adjustments. One other important thing is that the employers should stay united with the help of the administration, because after getting a certificate, all I want is to have better pay and to get promoted. So it is important for employers to recognize the QF. Mr. Lang Kwok-hong. Chairman, I think Dr. Ann Chang is right. That's what I want to say. If you learn about retail, then one day when you become a shop manager, you can do it by yourself, independently. Just pass it to me, just like Mr. Siwing Cheng. He could deploy staff to sell flats. So it's all about deploying the appropriate staff. Say if there are people who can't find jobs, then the employer should give them training. No, I think the first thing to enhance the industry's image is this. If you have saved up enough money, if you want to buy a flat, well, you should do it right away. And some people nowadays say they don't have time for relationships, and some they might be very well groomed, so on and so forth. I mean, the problem with the low image of the retail industry is the work conditions. Say if you date a girl, if you want to date a girl and if you want to have a barbecue with a girl, you may say, no, I have to work till 10. And if you want to get married, and then you say that we should, hurry to pay a deposit for the subdivided unit. Is that the way to improve the industry's image? Will anyone be willing to take up a job even if you give free training and yet the pay is low? You're giving $130 million. So I support your item, but then the money should be spent on buying octopus cards, giving away octopus cards, so that they can attend job interviews for free, and to buy newspapers. Well, anyway, they don't really buy newspapers nowadays. They nowadays not even taking free newspapers. So they have meager benefits. That is why. If you really want to keep them, you should you should try apprenticeship. Is it a form of apprenticeship? No. This is the QF, Dr. Elizabeth Quat. Well, it's a long-standing problem that the retail industry is short of manpower. It also affects the overall quality of the services industry in Hong Kong. And I'd like to remind members that the retail industry doesn't just serve tourists, they also serve the people of Hong Kong. And the retail industry isn't dominated by consortia, goldsmiths, watch shops, etc. There are also smaller shops. So I can see the benefits in this item. For secondary 3 and secondary 6 leavers, the scheme can benefit them. It can also improve the work environment of the retail industry and provide another pathway for young people, and that is good. And it can also help SMEs in enhancing their quality. So overall speaking, I think the initiatives can help the development of the retail industry, so I support it. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong said we should disperse the $130 million to young people, to students, by way of giving away octopus cards to attend free job interviews or to buy trousers. I don't think this can really help young people's development. I also want to remind Mr. Gary Fan, he always target tourists under the IVS, the Individual Visitor Scheme. In fact, we are driving away tourists. They have lots of options. Once they're driven away, they may not come back. This will affect the retail industry. There are 260,000 people working in the retail industry. I mean, if you drive away customers, the livelihood and the house and the families of those 260,000 employed in the industry will also be affected. I hope the member would be responsible when making such remarks. Ms. Emily Lau. Sorry, Chairman, for I support this item, and at the panel meeting I also raised this issue. Although Hong Kong has a low unemployment rate, for youth the unemployment rate is still a double-digit figure. Now, some parents don't wish to see their children working so hard, and I don't know, PS, how you can convince them. And indeed, these are harsh jobs. They need to remain standing for long hours, it's salespersons or otherwise. I don't know if you have ways to create a good working environment so that parents will encourage their children to come out to work instead of staying home. P.S. Chairman, as I said just now, the work environment is an issue, and when we talk to the industry, they also understood. And this proposal for FC's consideration is one that allows more young people to join, or to attract more young people to join the industry. But ultimately, it's up to employers to make changes to keep them in the industry, including improving the salary and benefits, and with the qualifications framework, recognition schemes, and also with changes in salaries and benefits. Only by doing these can these people be retained in the industry. So we also urge employers to do more in this regard. Chairman, I hope the administration would continue to discuss with the employers groups because it's difficult to recruit manpower, so they should do their best in improving the pay and also the work environment so that young people won't perceive the industry as giving only hard jobs only. I hope more favorable conditions can be created to attract young people so that you can push down the double-digit youth unemployment rate. Okay, if there are no other questions, I will put this item to a vote. Will those in favor of FCR 20, yes? Please raise your hands. I mean paper number 10. The bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
請大家留意，熒光屏即將。
we will be voting on FCR document 10. Please proceed to vote. Before I announce the results, please verify the vote. Voting stops. The results are displayed. 48 present, 39 for, 8 against, 0 abstention. The paper is passed. Next item, FCR 2014-15, document 17. Members are invited to approve a new commitment of $347.965 million and B, an increase in the ceiling placed on the total notional annual midpoint salary value of all non-directorate posts in the establishment of Head 156 Government Secretariat Education Bureau in 2014-15 from $2.814726 billion by $1.20096 million to $2.815926.96 billion for the Education Bureau to implement the scholarship scheme for studying outside Hong Kong. Now, on the 14th of April, the administration sought the views of the education panel. We have with us Mr. Young, Undersecretary of Education Bureau, Mr. Wallace Lau, Deputy Secretary, Yikin Yun, Now, last year, there was a lot of controversy about this proposal. At the time, the proposal did not receive the support of the panel. And now, I have discussed this with the education sector, and there have been diverse views. The scheme has been improved. So some strange features are no longer here. Now the thinking is that the finest talents of Hong Kong should be attracted to study abroad rather than locally. So people have different views. First, I'd like to understand, will the administration please respond? Are there countries who adopt a similar scheme that deploys a lot of public money to spend on sending the finest local talents abroad for study? This is very important because worldwide universities are competing for talent. The top talents are very rare. We are talking about 100 top students. They are probably the top 1 or 2% of Hong Kong's students. So do you have information on the practice in other countries? Now, to our knowledge, for instance, Singapore, the government also provides scholarships for students to study abroad. I'd like to supplement that our objective is not to encourage or attract top talents to study abroad, but we think that Hong Kong is a very internationalized city. Some capable young people needs more international vision, and they also need to learn from the experience abroad. For some subjects where foreign universities excel, it's worthwhile for our students to learn at those universities, and our scheme requires the students, when they graduate, to come and serve in Hong Kong, to come back and serve in Hong Kong. So we are not telling our top talents to leave Hong Kong, but for them to learn and then come back. Now, apart from Singapore, are there other countries that adopt this approach? And does Singapore adopt an identical approach, or different? Is it different in some respects? Now, we compare with Singapore because in Hong Kong, in Asia, Hong Kong is often compared with Singapore in respect of manpower. Now, we need to consider Hong Kong's unique situation. Our education system is different from that of Singapore. For instance, the local universities are of a different level from those of Singapore. So we are not using Singapore as a blueprint or as something to compare with, but we try to consider what's best for Hong Kong in the long term. Dr. Fernando Cheung. Now, this scheme, I think, may be expending too much resources unnecessarily. Now, of course, we should support students studying abroad, but if they have the financial means, they may have studied at some very reputed schools or international schools, and then they were accepted at foreign universities, and you give them $500,000 a year. I don't think there's the need. Now, if the families are poor and the children got accepted at reputable foreign universities, I think that's worthwhile. So I think you should make this a bursary scheme. You pay no regard to the economic capability. Now, very often you don't comply with our requests regarding means testing, but in this case, you don't require any means testing. You should concentrate your resources to help the poor families. And how do you determine whether they are coming back to Hong Kong and to serve Hong Kong? Now, when they come back from abroad, they make a contribution not only economically, but to Hong Kong's culture, our social services, and so on. Now, we agree. Now, when we say that they come back and make a contribution to Hong Kong, we're not just judging on what job they take up and how much money they make. Now, if they come back and serve in an NGO, we think that still benefits Hong Kong in the longer term. Now, our scheme selects the talents. We encourage students who have performed well, who are talented, and if they apply to foreign universities that excel in certain subjects, or provide training in subjects not provided in Hong Kong, then we give them priority. So when they are able to be accepted by top universities by their own capabilities, we support them. Now, so there are a number of scholarships in Hong Kong, like the Taikoo Scholarship Scheme or the Sir Edward Youth Scheme. There's no means test. It's not the purpose of the scheme is not to help the poor, but to reward the well-performing students. Now, so we do have a bursary part of our scheme to help the poor students. Mr. Raymond Wong. Now, this scheme has only 100 places, so you are fostering elitism. Now, your higher education development is poor in Hong Kong. You should use the money to help the tertiary institutions here. Now, looking at the document, you are mainly talking about the North American universities, but not the European ones. You're not only talking about US and UK universities, but how about the universities, say, in Holland or in Germany? They have top universities too. Chairman, what are you going to say? Please go ahead. I'm certainly against the scheme. The reason is that you are fostering elitism. Secondly, your higher education in Hong Kong is in a mess. We request to make major reforms like repealing the UGC. Now, you offer some limited schemes to help local universities, like grant matching arrangements, but maybe you should just give the money to these local universities, and you have a steering committee for this scholarship scheme. Who will sit on the committee? You mentioned the sectors, etc. So how do you set the standards? I will first answer the question about elitist education first. Now, we try to promote top quality education, as well as we try to help those who don't perform so well. So we target both the top and bottom levels of students. Now, how do you decide on which universities should be those where the scholarships are payable? Do we have a fixed list? No, not at this moment, but we will use some reference information, such as ranking lists of universities. That might include European universities or even South American universities. Now, if a student is in a certain concentration, we can ask the people in that field. Suppose that person is accepted at a top Taiwan university, will you pay him? We don't rule out any university around the world.
As long as the student can prove that by taking that program, he can make contribution to Hong Kong. Dr. Helena Wong, the Democratic Party supports this paper in principle, but I would like to seek certain clarification from the government. Under paragraph 8A, previously at a panel meeting, I also mentioned this. I hope that this scholarship is not only provided for undergraduate students. Now you say here that it can be for programs at undergraduate or above levels. So the student can be a master program student or PhD program student, right? So how many places will there be? As Dr. Wong said just now, we would also include programs above undergraduate levels, and we do not have a fixed allocation of places. So we will just look at the applicants, the performances, etc., and then we will decide each year. So maybe 98% of them will be graduate students. That would also be okay. In principle, there is no restriction. However, this is a pilot scheme. So we hope that there will be more undergraduate students, but we do not have a fixed ratio. I hope that you can give priority to graduate students. As you said previously, the number of local students taking graduate programs in Hong Kong is low, and you want the students to get an international, to get a global vision. However, for students to go abroad to take graduate programs is very expensive. So for these young talents, if they want to pursue higher studies overseas, they would really rely on this kind of scholarship. So I hope that you can make an appropriate adjustment. If they can really get into some really good postgraduate programs overseas, please consider giving them a scholarship. And 8B is about studying what? So under 8B, you say that there is no limitation on the disciplines of study. However, priority will be given to programs that are conducive to building up Hong Kong's long-term competitiveness, in particular those not available in Hong Kong. Now, what is meant by conducive to building up Hong Kong's long-term competitiveness? I don't think this is necessary. For a student to go overseas to study, he will not study a program that he's not interested in and is not useful. So as to what is meant by conducive, it depends on who are sitting on the selection panel. Do you think that only engineering or business programs will be conducive to Hong Kong? I think you should be as lenient as possible when you come to this. Well, there may be a program that when you look at it now is not really that useful, but when the student comes back, that his knowledge may be very useful to Hong Kong. We need talents in all fields. Now, if he's really a talent, he goes to a good school, has good academic achievements, and when he comes back to Hong Kong, he will definitely be conducive to Hong Kong. He can study religion, art, or history. These things seems unrelated to competitiveness, but do we not need talents like this in Hong Kong? Next, Mr. Martin Liu. Thank you, Chairman. I would like to declare my interest first. I am the chairman of the Hong Kong Accreditation and Examination Authority. Now, I would like to clarify the policy objective of this proposal. The policy addressed mentioned this kind of scholarship. And in paragraph 96 of the policy address, it says that a new scholarship scheme will be set up, and about 100 students will be assisted so that they can study overseas, and this would help train up talents for Hong Kong, and they will help Hong Kong's development. So when it comes to Hong Kong's development, it's not just about the economy. It should be all-round development. The students would get at least $200,000 assistance. When I look at the eligibility criteria, priority will be given to programs that are not offered in Hong Kong, and also for impoverished students, if they cannot afford to study overseas, they would also be taken into consideration. So this might be a bit different from what's mentioned in the policy address. So now the policy objective has changed, or is a new direction after the government's internal discussion, or is it a new decision by the Executive Council? Now, the policy objective was originally very clear. That is, assisting elite students to go overseas to study so that they can help Hong Kong develop. But now it's like a program helping the poor students. So I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but can you clarify, has there been any change? Well, for paragraph 8C, says that other things being equal. That means if there are 2 students and there's only 1 place, and everything is the same between these 2 students, so how do we select one? So the one that's from a poorer background will be selected. That will not be the only selection criterion. Of course, we are always selecting the best students. But if there are 2 students that are of the same quality, and then the poorer one will be selected. I would like to supplement. How about a program that's not offered in Hong Kong? Priority will be given to that. This is one of our considerations. Some members also said just now, when we do the consideration, as you said, we will look at Hong Kong's long-term competitiveness. And if there are programs that are not available in Hong Kong, and if we want to train talents in this area, now at the moment there may not be a direct relationship with Hong Kong, but if these students study these programs that are not available in Hong Kong, that it may be conducive to the diversity of Hong Kong. So if this program is not offered in Hong Kong, a little bit of priority will be accorded to it. Dr. Kenneth Chen, in Hong Kong, the government subsidized 15,000 first-year university places. However, because we only have 15,000 subsidized places, about 16,000 people who are eligible or who are matriculated cannot get into universities. This has been like this in Hong Kong for many years. So now the Hong Kong government is trying to come up with ways to help students enter universities, but the money is not spent in Hong Kong. I teach in a university, and I think this is an eternal problem. If you want to have a scholarships scheme, then I think for the grand direction, nobody would object to it. But I don't think this is the most proper way to do things. I have already shared this with the government. I have the same experience. When I graduated from a university in Hong Kong, I got scholarships and went study overseas. When I look at the scheme, I have several concerns. First of all, why would you accord priority to undergraduate students? You want more undergraduate students to enjoy this scheme, right? Because we do not have enough subsidized places in Hong Kong. So you want to take care of the needs of undergraduate students, in particular those who are impoverished. That is good. However, for the undergraduate programs, now you are talking about programs that are not available in Hong Kong. Now we have 18 tertiary institutions in Hong Kong. What programs do we lack? So you should make it clear. My personal view is that Hong Kong students should do their undergraduate programs in Hong Kong, and this scholarship should be given to graduate students. So after taking undergraduate programs, they would have a certain understanding of a discipline, and they would know what they want to pursue overseas. They would have a clearer sense of direction. So that will be clearer. They would go overseas to study and then come back to make contribution to Hong Kong. Now, if you're talking about the end of the Qing dynasty, then students would go overseas to learn how to build railways or to learn from the German industry and then come back to help build the country. That's all right. But now we are at a different era. And you haven't given it a proper name. So is this a CE scholarship or what? Make it clear. And third, about the committee. Now you have a proposed term of reference. However, I do not see how the composition of the steering committee can make it work properly. How do they know what universities should be considered? Otherwise, I am still very worried. Chairman, I'm just given 4 minutes. I don't think they have enough time to answer me. Please give us a brief answer. It's 4 minutes now, Chairman. Okay, later, please. Dr. Priscilla Leung, I would like to declare interest. I also teach at a university in Hong Kong. If you look at it from a Hong Kong university's perspective, then you will think, how come we are sending the best 100 students overseas? Yes, a lot of people may think that way. However, I have encountered some very good students. They really want to study overseas, for example, astronomy. In Hong Kong, we really do not offer certain programs. And we really should encourage these students to study overseas. They have their ideals, they have their dreams, so we should provide them with a choice. Ip Kin Yuen has said a lot of things. I agree with him on most points. I have encountered many elite secondary school students. They really want to go to world-class universities abroad. I think they are really brilliant students, so we should help them realize their dreams. We are talking about scholarship and bursary. As for bursary, yes, for students without financial means, we should really help them. We should even increase the resources given to them. As for scholarship, well, some secondary school students told me that whenever they compete with students from a well-off background, they would always lose. I think priority should be given to programs that are not available in Hong Kong, but we should also adopt a fair and just manner. We should look at the students' performance and achievements. So if they're going to study master programs or PhD programs, and even if they want to be scientists in the future, I think we really should look at the performance of the students. So if you grant a student a scholarship, you look at his performance, not his family background. Even if he's competing for the Nobel Prize, it's because of his performance. And if I do not look at it from a Hong Kong university's perspective, I also support this government's proposed scheme. So there should be several channels. One channel is scholarship, one channel is bursary. So I would support the funding request. And I also hope that you would help Hong Kong's tertiary institutions. If outstanding students have chosen to study in Hong Kong, you should also give them assistance. Sometimes it's because they cannot afford the tuition fees, they have to give up their dreams. So I hope that the Hong Kong government can help. Next, Mr. James Toh. I have already shared some of my views, but I have several questions now. You will not be looking at the family income of the students, but for those students who really cannot afford to study overseas, maybe they can apply first. For example, if he wants to go to Cambridge, even if he's admitted, then he may not be one of the top students who can get a Cambridge scholarship. So if you have 100 places like this, then maybe you can help the student realize his dream. So I think this scheme is positive. Has the government considered this? That is, for these elite students, well, how many of them already have a scholarship, and how many of them need your scholarship? Some countries would also provide free university places for overseas top students. So if you help our top students, they would remember that the Hong Kong government has lent out a helping hand. Now, even if he does not come back to Hong Kong, but if he establish another Microsoft company, then people would say that it's established by a Hong Kong people. So that would also help. And paragraph 7, you talk about leadership qualities and potential, etc. Well, I can cite another example for the students. That's leading the movement against national education. Well, he's really talented and he is really committed to Hong Kong. But would you think those are negative qualities? You think that he's a leader in promoting social change, or is he a person that just revolts, or he's just a rebel? And as for the disciplines, well, a lot of students are not interested in those so-called disciplines that are conducive to building up Hong Kong's economy. He may study history. However, he's so talented that after graduation in his 20s, he would help a huge company to revamp the whole structure of the company. So you cannot say that a person that's studying history or literature is not competitive. His intellect and his point of view, his analytical, his analysis ability can really make contribution to society. So you really should consider all these factors. Now, It's almost 11, so we will adjourn now and we will resume the meeting at 11:10.